Welcome to another Performance Clinic, Advanced Monitoring of AWS with Dynatrace, part of my Performance Clinic series. You can see the link here where you can find other Performance Clinics where you can get access to Dynatrace, sign up for your own trial, and also listen to the Pure Performance podcast that Brian Wilson and I are running on a continuous basis. Now, today's topic is Advanced Monitoring of AWS with Dynatrace. Now, I want to show you quickly kind of my agenda points. I want to quickly reiterate existing content that has been out there on AWS with Dynatrace for a while, and then go to OneAgent and CloudWatch Monitoring, no-touch container monitoring, fluid log analytics, serverless, and RAM. So these are kind of the topics that I see a lot of people asking me about when talking about AWS monitoring with Dynatrace. So a refresher, existing content to be aware of. There is a tutorial I think I did about a year ago. It's called the AWS Monitoring Tutorial for Dynatrace. You will find it also on the YouTube channel and also on University, and there's also a GitHub repository that goes along with it. Here I just pointed out a couple of screenshots of the different hands-on scenarios that I did. You can see here how to enable CloudWatch integration, how to monitor your EC2 instances, how to monitor Elastic BeanStalk, how to bake Dynatrace into CloudFormation to automatically get rolled out. And I use the Lambda stack application here. And also things on how to instrument your Lambda functions. So that's all part already of that existing content. In case you're kind of new to Dynatrace, you may want to get started here. What else is there? We've recently presented at reInvent. There were 2 sessions. One was done by my colleague Peter Heck on breaking up the monolith, and another one that I did on shifting left SREs and building self-healing systems. Now there's a blog for both sessions. As you can see, the link on the top is the blog link, and there's also a YouTube recording because AWS has recorded all the reInvent sessions. We also embedded the recording into the blog post. So make sure if you're interested in how to migrate and move monolithic applications into the cloud, check out the session from Pete. If you're interested in shifting left SREs, so site reliability engineering, building self-healing into a delivery pipeline, check out the other blog. Another thing, I recently did a webinar with Carmen Puccio, one of the solution architects on AWS, talking about different tips and tricks on how to use Dynatrace to accelerate your cloud migration, validate the business outcome, being smarter with operating your environment in a cloud and also hybrid cloud environment, and also how to use automation to build unbreakability, or we call it, into your delivery pipeline. So check out this webinar. You can see the link on the bottom. It's available for a replay. Also, very exciting for customers or people out there that can purchase through the marketplace. We are also available on the marketplace, so you can actually sign up for Dynatrace for the AWS marketplace, right? I think that's also great to know. We also have private link, by the way, because I just see the logo here. Private link is something that we've also introduced in case this is of interest for you. So check it out. Check out Dynatrace on the marketplace. We also have a quick start guide on AWS. This is a quick start guide on how you can deploy your own Dynatrace managed cluster in your own AWS environment. Because remember, Dynatrace is offered in 2 flavors, SaaS, where we run it for you in the cloud, and also managed, where you run it in your own environment. And with a quick start guide, how you can launch Dynatrace managed in, for instance, your own AWS environment. What else do we have? We have another solution on the solution space for the Dynatrace auto-healing delivery pipeline. So there's a lot of things here around shifting left, shifting right, self-healing, and Fullstack monitoring that we built. All available on the solution space. Last piece on the existing content, a lot of great customer stories out there in case you want to know if this is just something we talk about or if this has actually been used by others. It's obviously used. But there's these 2 that are on the highlight, Citrix and Pixel, but there's more stories out there. All right. Now, this is the existing content. And by the way, as a reminder, if you have any questions, use the question feature and go to webinar. And I will address this in the end. So OneAgent and CloudWatch. This is now coming to the kind of the meat of Dynatrace. For those of you that have not yet seen Dynatrace, or at least not automated it in a way that we want you to automate it, Dynatrace operates on the so-called OneAgent technology. It's a single agent that you need to deploy on your infrastructure, right? For instance, EC2. So what this looks like, and I'll show you later on in a demo in case you haven't seen it, you simply log into Dynatrace, you pick your operating system. I would assume maybe Linux is very common here. When you click on it, you get the installation instructions. It's really like a download link and the installation instructions. And now while you can do this manually, but manual is boring, we want to automate that. That means you can use Puppet, Chef, Ansible, Terraform, CloudFormation, PowerShell, whatever you want to then automatically install that agent on your infrastructure, whether it's infrastructure obviously that lives in the cloud, in AWS, like EC2, or whether it's still hybrid infrastructure that maybe lives in your VMware, maybe lives on your bare metal machines, maybe lives in some other cloud. Right? You can fully automate the OneAgent. Once it's installed, you get full level visibility, full stack visibility, only installing a single agent. There's no need for you to figure out how to enable it for Node.js, PHP, .NET, or for Docker containers, for Kubernetes. It's all taken care of completely automatically. Also mentioned that it works in hybrid cloud environments, on-premise and PaaS. So we have been partnering with all the cloud vendors, all the PaaS vendors to make this a seamless experience, one agent in any environment. Now, just to let you know, in case you have a Cloud Foundry, Azure Web Apps, OpenShift, Kubernetes, in the Dynatrace UI, you can click on Deploy Dynatrace, and then there's a link to our PaaS integrations. So just follow the steps, follow the instructions to get, for instance, Dynatrace enabled for Kubernetes, for OpenShift, Cloud Foundry, or Azure Web Apps, or any of the other things we support. For AWS in particular, we have an integration that you can enable where we pull in metadata. So for instance, we can pull in the AWS tags, all the tags that you already specify on your EC2 instances or on your other components and services in AWS, we automatically pull in. You can see here, it will automatically show up in Dynatrace. Additionally to this metadata, we also pull in metadata from the infrastructure itself, so we know what kind of OS it is, what type of instance type it is. You can see all the other information, public, private IP addresses, security zones. So we have a lot of metadata, and we can use this metadata for multiple things. We can use it for filtering. So for instance, hey, only show me performance relevant data for particular instances that have a particular tag on it. The other thing, which I believe is very important, this is more like an advanced thing, we have a concept of management zones. Management zones means if Dynatrace is really monitoring, hopefully full stack everything, right? You want to say certain people should have access to certain data. And the way this works in Dynatrace is through a so-called management zone. That means you can create a management zone and say, I have a management zone for, let's say, everything in AWS. Then you create a management zone with a filter that includes all the hosts, but the cloud type might be EC2. Well, then maybe you have, like in this case, I have an APL environment. That's a particular application environment. And I say, everyone that has access to this management zone is going to see all the hosts that have a particular tag on it. Now, management zones work on different layers, hosts, processes, services, and applications. To give an overview, I have a dashboard here, call it the NoOps dashboard, where that shows me all my applications, services, hosts, and my databases. And by default, if I have full access to Dynatrace, I can see everything that I've instrumented. But then I can switch to the different management zones. So I can say, show me only the things that run in staging, only those that are running in production. So this is the management zone concept, and the management zones can be configured based on metadata that you already have available with our AWS integration. So please keep this in mind. Very powerful, and it's not only filtering capability to filter your dashboards, to filter your charts, it's also for access control. So you can assign different people to different management zones, so they're only allowed to see what's part of the management zone. And it can be horizontal in the stack or vertical in the stack, so you can say my application teams are only allowed to see application layer, let's say end user data. My infrastructure people are only allowed to see the bottom. You may have DevOps teams that see full stack for in a particular application. So all of this is possible with management zones. The next thing we do, we also include CloudWatch Metrics. So that means we have an integration with CloudWatch where we can pull in data, and this is just very quickly pulling in data from CloudWatch on EC2 instances, on your auto-scaling group, DynamoDB, your databases, your RDS. We automatically pull in all this data, and not only do we pull in the metrics, but we also pull in dependency information. So we actually know exactly who is talking to these services and who is living on which particular EC2 instances, right? And this is very important. And what you see here is called Smartscape, right? So very, very important piece here. Now, some additional things that you may not be aware of for certain EC2 instances, we pull in more data than other. Great example of classic load balancing insights. If you have classic load balancers, you see the key metrics. You also see health issues to be automatically detected. And obviously, again, the tags are pulled in. I put in a couple of screenshots. By the way, the slides will also be available. So I'm rushing through some of these slides rather quickly because I want to make sure I give you enough airtime for questions. And I see the first questions already come in. Application load balancers, same thing. All the key metrics are automatically pulled in. And what's great is you also get alerts in case something is wrong on that, right? Network load balancer, just another example. We have all the data available for you, the key metrics for these particular AWS instances. Now, one thing that is rather new, and this is also where you can see the link on the bottom. This came out of a blog post that was recently published. We extended our CloudWatch support for you to say, I want more than just what comes out of the box with Dynatrace. So we have these supporting services that you can configure, and you can see here a couple of those. This is still an early access program, so check it out on the blog and how you can enable, how you can be part of that. But I thought I'll give you a couple of use cases. For instance, if you're using Elasticsearch service, we pull in the key metrics for Elasticsearch. Another example that I have here is the API gateway, right? And here the key point always is when you configure it, we give you kind of an out-of-the-box view, but then all the metrics that we pull in can also obviously be put on a custom dashboard. And remember, the cool thing about this is you can then also always say, who has access to it. We can control that as well. Another example here, just SNS. So there's a lot of examples, but instead of just putting in a lot of screenshots, I thought, well, the stuff that I just showed you, let's have a quick live demo. And for this, excuse me, but I will turn off the camera because I think I just want to save bandwidth and I want to make sure that I have enough bandwidth and you have enough screen here. So this is, let me go into full screen mode. So this is Dynatrace, one of my Dynatrace installations. What you see here is one of the dashboards that one of my colleagues actually built. Thanks to the product management team for building this and making it available in my demo environment. So these are just metrics from, let's say, the API gateway metrics that we're pulling into CloudWatch. But let's get started again on what I showed you earlier. If you sign up for Dynatrace, the first thing you will get to is access to the Dynatrace UI, and then typically one of the first things you want to do is deploy Dynatrace. So this is where we were earlier. Remember the slides. If you get started, click on Start Installation, and this is now where you can pick if you want to install a OneAgent on your Linux machines, your Windows machines that are running in the cloud, just pick any of these, or if you have a PaaS environment, like if you're monitoring Kubernetes, for instance, if you want to monitor your Fargate, then this is stuff where you will go into PaaS. For Linux, I just pick it up here. Very easy. We give you a download link to download the OneAgent, and the OneAgent that you download will automatically, once installed, right? You install it with this script here, and in the middle you have a verified signature just to make sure that the stuff that you downloaded is actually legit and nobody was tampering with it. So these are the three comments really that you would normally automate in your deployment automation, whether it's Terraform, whether it's CloudFormation, whether it's your Chef, Puppet, Ansible scripts. However you roll out the infrastructure, you can just install the OneAgent. So this is one piece of the puzzle. The second piece of the puzzle for AWS is what shows up here under AWS. Now, in my case, I already have configured my CloudWatch integration, but I want to quickly show you how this is done. And under Settings, if you go to Settings and then under Cloud and Virtualization, you have an entry here that's called AWS. And this is where you can connect Dynatrace to your CloudWatch. Right? So you basically have two options here for key-based and for role-based authentication. Now, I covered this in very much detail in my first webinar I did on AWS Monitoring Essentials. So check it out. But once configured, right, you will have your individual entries here. Then it will also show up under AWS. You see your different AWS environments, and then you click on it, and then you automatically get full access to all the CloudWatch metrics that we pull in. That's obviously great, right? Your availability zones, your RDS, your DynamoDB, right? This is all here, all metrics, and Lambda functions as well. Load balancers, as I showed you earlier, and maybe I just click on one of these, like the application load balancer, right? You can click on these entities, and this is also where you can see the properties that we are pulling in, and also the metrics that we're pulling in, right? It's all there for you, either in this dashboard, or you can take this data and also chart it on your custom dashboards. I want to quickly go back one step here. Supporting services, that's what's new. I have 5 supporting services configured here: API Gateway, Net, SES, SNS, and SQS, right? I can click into, and then you can actually configure what level of detail you want to have, and then you have, again, full access to it, either in the out-of-the-box dashboards that we have here, right, where you can chart the individual metrics that you specified that we should pull in this case also by topic. So you can look at this, or you can also put it on a dashboard if you want to. Last thing I want to highlight is for EC2, right, on the one side, we are pulling in obviously metrics from CloudWatch, but this is just, half of the deal, because the OneAgent that we can install on these EC2 instances is the real deal. So now if I click on one of these, environments here, availability zones, US East 1D, you will always get, with the CloudWatch integration, all the information about every single EC2 instance that is running in there. And what's great is, if I click on one of those, then by default, even without installing the OneAgent, you would get all the metrics from AWS that AWS CloudWatch gives to us, including all the metadata, like the tags and everything you see here, right? And again, this is all information you can use for management zone configuration as well. Now, what we encourage you, however, to do, and also the UI will show it to you, we encourage you to also install the OneAgent, because the OneAgent that runs on the OS level will give you full visibility into every single process, every single network connection. It will give you insights into every single service and all the dependencies. It will also give you insights into events, and also enables all log monitoring. So automatically have access to all the logs that are created on that machine by any process. You also get automatically visibility into all of the containers and also the logs within the containers. And all this data feeds into our AI, right? And to show you a little bit more about how this looks like from a dependency, from the topology information, this is now what we call Smartscape, right? So what you see here is data that we capture in combination from CloudWatch, but most of this data really comes from OneAgent, meaning we've installed the OneAgent on this host. I know where it runs on based on the metadata, but also I know what runs on it. There's an Apache, there's some Tomcat, there's another Java application, some other applications are running in the backend. I see that the Apache is actually hosting a couple of websites and services, and there's also end-user applications, both mobile and web applications, that are using these services. So on the left side is what I always call the vertical dependency map that is automatically for you detected and monitored. And on the right side here, this is what I call the horizontal dependency map, which means all the dependencies from host to host. How do we know this? Because we monitor all your network connections. Most importantly, right, if I click on the process, we have also the information about process-to-process communication. So we know that this particular Apache here is talking to which other services on the same or on other machines, and also to which maybe other external services it calls to. For instance, when it calls to RDS, when it calls to MySQL, like in this case. We have all this information available fully automatically, and because we have this dependency information and all the metrics on each layer, we believe, right, and we know for a fact that we have more data, more contextual data, more relevant data for our AI when it comes to problem detection. Right? All this data is fully automatically there for you. So remember, what I just showed you are two things. It is when you get started with Dynatrace, you want to start deploying the OneAgent either on your EC2 machines or for PaaS if you're running, for instance, Kubernetes, OpenShift, Cloud Foundry. That's what you want to do, okay? And then you get full stack visibility. The second thing you want to do under settings, you want to go to cloud and virtualization. You want to go to AWS, and then you want to configure your AWS CloudWatch integration, where we then pull in additional metrics and also the metadata like tags. Now, I saw there was one question coming in on management zones. So management zones, if you are also in the settings menu here, right? Settings, preferences, management zones. This is where you can define your management zones. There's also great blog articles about it and documentation on how to define management zones. The great thing here is that if you are creating a new management zone, I could say my AWS environment, you create an add-on new rule, and now you can say what is part of a management zone. So for instance, certain services that have a particular technology type, that have a particular tag on it, or applications, or, you know, as you said earlier, certain hosts, right? I can say I want to see all the hosts where, let's say the cloud technology, the cloud type is EC2, for instance. And you can add additional rules, and there's a huge list of conditions here, right? You can see there's a lot of things we automatically pull out. So for instance, what we see a lot with people that are running Kubernetes, you can create management zones for your individual Kubernetes namespaces. So all of this is possible, right? You can say, whoever has access to this management zone should have access to services where let's say the Kubernetes namespace begins with, my dev team or like maybe staging, right? Something like this. And you could say, you can call it AWS Kubernetes staging, right? So this is how it works. If you want to learn more about management zones, I saw this question just come in, check out the other content that we have out there. Everything is based on tags, and I can also encourage you to look at one of my other video tutorials that I have. So this is the YouTube channel where all of my performance clinics end up, and there is a one-on-one tagging. One-on-one tagging essentials with Dynatrace. That is one of these performance clinics I've done in the past, where we talk about tagging and how we can then reuse tags for management zones. All right. So hopefully that makes sense for you. All right. So let's go. Again, encourage you to put in any questions that you have. Now, let me go quickly back to my slides and continue. Because what we discussed right now is installing, getting full stack visibility and including Dynatrace or CloudWatch Metrics. Now, the next topic is no-touch container monitoring. I know that a lot of you are looking into containers. So again, existing material. I don't want to reiterate everything, but there's a lot of great stuff that I recorded in a performance clinic recently that was called Monitoring Kubernetes and OpenShift with the Dynatrace OneAgent operator. The Dynatrace OneAgent operator is a great way to get full stack visibility for Kubernetes and OpenShift in case you cannot install the OneAgent on the underlying hosts where you run Kubernetes or OpenShift. Because remember, if you install the OneAgent on your Linux host or Windows host, you get full stack visibility of everything that runs on these hosts, including your containers and Kubernetes and OpenShift. But if you cannot install something on the host itself, for OpenShift and Kubernetes, we have the operator. We are using the operator framework to get the OneAgent in there. So check this out. Another thing is if you are moving to Fargate as part of the Breaking the Monolith session we did at reInvent, we actually took our monolithic easy travel application that we often use or most often use for our demos, and we containerized it and then put it into Fargate. So all the steps are actually explained in that blog post that we wrote for that session, including how you actually instrument Fargate with Dynatrace, how you can bake the OneAgent into your Fargate containers. Also on the right side, we have a lot of great documentation on when to use full-stack monitoring of Kubernetes versus application monitoring. So check it out, all these links. Next thing, if you decide to go down the Kubernetes route or the Fargate route, if you have enabled it, then again you get full-stack visibility, even though you're only installing the OneAgent in your containers. Now, obviously, you don't get the same level of host metrics for the underlying host that, for instance, AWS uses to run your Fargate containers, but this is where we can then pull in additional CloudWatch metrics. But what you see here is really on the left side, Smartscape that you saw earlier. I just installed my OneAgent in my containers that are deployed into Fargate, and from that point on, I get, again, visibility on my ECS cluster, the containers that run on the cluster, so my Fargate containers, the services that run in there, and also the apps. And the only thing I had to do is just modify the Docker image or the Docker file when building my container for Fargate. It's a two-liner, so it's quickly switched back. If you see it on the left side here where it says move easy travel to Fargate, 2 lines to download and enable the OneAgent. That's it. If you do this, you get full-stack visibility. Also with the tags, with the metrics, with the pure PaaS, the code level visibility, everything is there for you. Next thing, what's also very important, right, is to do end-to-end tracing. This is also what I showed in the blog post and what we showed at re:Invent. We were containerizing our application and moved it over to Fargate, and then we automatically see every single container end-to-end, fully linked, right? We have automatic tracing. There's no need to modify your code to get end-to-end tracing. It works out of the box, including seeing the dependencies to the backend DBs or external services. Also, what we detect are also all the proxies that, for instance, AWS puts between your individual containers. Right? Everything is there with all the performance data, code level visibility, with all the automatic alerting and dependency information. Here again, this is how it looks like from a pure PaaS perspective. That means we really trace every single transaction end-to-end, whether it runs in a monolith on-premise or whether it runs in containers in Fargate or in Kubernetes. It's the same thing. You got the same out-of-the-box technology. All right? So that's it for container monitoring. Log analytics, very key point here. Again, if you have not thought about Dynatrace as being also in the log analytics space, well, you should definitely check out what we do in this space because we have been having log analytics built into the product for quite a while now. On the left side, another performance clinic I did with Mike Kerneman, one of my colleagues, on log analytics in general and what you can do with it. And then on the right side, you can see the latest announcements we've done around ingesting CloudTrail logs into Dynatrace, also syslog, and how we can use, how we have an API where you can actually stream data to Dynatrace, right? In case we can, for whatever reason, not pick it up automatically, you can send data to Dynatrace. So check out the YouTube video and check out the blog post here. I added a couple of screenshots to just visualize it a little bit, mainly taken from the blog post itself. So this is how you can actually enable CloudTrail imports and then how the data then actually shows up in Dynatrace. So you can then analyze the data in CloudWatch and that comes in through CloudTrail, just as any other cloud log information that we capture through the OneAgent, for instance, okay? So log analytics. Now, why is this really cool? Why is it great to have log analytics in Dynatrace? Because remember, we have all this rich context information. We have all the dependencies of your services. We know which end users are consuming your services and where your services run on. And now we can also detect log patterns. So this is actually a screenshot from one of our customers, a very simple one, obviously in this case, but you can define log patterns. You can say, Dynatrace, I want you to watch out for certain log patterns, like a file missing, an exception that has been logged, any error, and I want you to be aware of that, and then we can automatically get a problem ticket created. Now that's great, but this is not the whole story. The whole story really is the AI. Like in this case, what you can see here is, again, thanks to the courtesy of the customer that shared this example, Dynatrace AI, because we see full stack from end user all the way down to the infrastructure, and now also seeing the log messages from either your, like in this case, Apache, or if you bring it into CloudTrail, We show you how many people are currently impacted by a problem, what are the impacted services, and what is the root cause. And if we see log patterns in any of the components that is supporting the app or the service that has a problem, we show you these log messages as well, automatically in one view. There's no need anymore to start in your monitoring tool and then go off to your log analytics tool to try to find the logs that correlate with the problems, with the entities that the monitoring tool told you. Everything is in one tool, right? And I think this is what's great. So impact and log analysis. Another cool thing here is that we see the impact of services, right? And logs, which I showed you this earlier. But on the right side, you can see here that we also have the full problem evolution. Meaning, we do not only tell you there is a problem, but we tell you how the problem started and all the events, including log events. So you can see which log started first and what other things we have, what other patterns. And the great thing about this is all this data is also accessible through REST API, and a lot of our customers are now using this to automate the remediation. Because if Dynatrace already tells me there is an impact, and here are the 5 log messages that came in this sequence, then you can write scripts that then automatically execute remediation actions based on the patterns here. All right. So next thing, serverless. Serverless monitoring. I know we have a lot of people moving over to serverless again. I have a YouTube video with Daniel Kahn. He's leading the innovation here in Dynatrace, and not only within Dynatrace, but also within the serverless community worldwide. And I put him to a challenge to show me how to deploy and monitor a Lambda function in faster than 8 minutes, because he wrote a blog post about it. So check out this video, follow his instructions on the blog post that has a similar name, and just instrument the Lambda function. Now, what I have here, again, how does it look like? I actually, again, courtesy to our HoloLens team, so our Dynatrace engineering team, we have implemented HoloLens integrations, and they're actually using Lambda functions in the backend for this experience, and they're monitoring their Lambda functions with Dynatrace. That means what you see here is an end-to-end pure path of a Lambda function that they implemented and how the Lambda function makes calls to other systems and other services. Full end-to-end trace, right? You can see the sequence and where time is spent. For error information, we always say have the error details, so immediately we can see in case a Lambda function had an issue calling an external service. We see the error information, including all the context information. What was the URL? What were the parameters? We can capture all this. And we have the code level visibility as well. So it's all there for you, okay? In case you have problems in your code execution. And everything in Dynatrace, fully automatically. And now the big part here also is that what we see is that a lot of our customers do not just have serverless or do not just have containers, but they typically have a mix. And this is where I just want to stress the fact again, if you're instrumenting Dynatrace full stack in your monolith, in your serverless, in your microservice, and even your legacy apps or third-party apps, you get the full end-to-end picture. And this is a key piece, because remember what you saw earlier with the problem detection. In case there is a problem that impacts your end users, we tell you exactly in which part of your architecture the real root cause really is. And it could be in serverless, it could be in one of your microservices, it could be in 3 components at the same time that fail for a certain reason. But instead of getting multiple problem tickets, you get a single alert with Dynatrace. And everything correlated to a problem ticket. All right, last topic before I want to open it up for questions is real user monitoring. In the end, I believe most of us out there, where we use this new technology to create new amazing digital experiences. That means we're either building services that are used by mobile apps or by desktop apps, or that can be used by other IoT type of devices. So it's very important to monitor your end users. And again, we have a great session with David Jones, one of my colleagues, on RUN, Real User Monitoring in Action, what Dynatrace can actually do out of the box by just installing the OneAgent. On the other side, we also have synthetic monitoring in our product. So also check out what we can do on a synthetic piece, because synthetic monitoring in combination with RAM gives you real great coverage on making sure that your real users really get the experience that they deserve. Just a highlight, in case you've never seen it, so we automatically give you insight into every single user, every single click. We give you the waterfalls for every single user, but then obviously we aggregate it up. We can show you where are your performance bottlenecks across the globe or for a certain demographic. How is user behavior? Where do people enter your site? Where are they bouncing off? How are the conversion rates? What type of users do you have? When do they come in? We can also use RAM for A/B testing because it has capabilities to decide, to differentiate between A and B. We see this a lot when people are migrating over to the cloud and you still have your existing environment and you want to then give the new environment that you already moved to the cloud, you want to give access to this new environment to certain people, and then you want to compare one with the other. So all of this is enabled. All right, a last demo time before I want to kick it off for Q&A. So let me go quickly back. So what have we talked about? Again, as the last couple of slides that I moved through, I think we talked about the full stack monitoring. So remember what I showed you. Once you install Dynatrace with the OneAgent, then you get full visibility from the app all the way end to end through your infrastructure. And we have different ways to look at the data. So I want to quickly start on the top, which is the end user site. So in this case, I have an application that is called easytravel.com that runs in EC2. And just by installing the OneAgent on these backend systems, I get full visibility into the performance as it is perceived on my end users. And I get all the diagnostic information. What type of users are they? What type of browsers do they use? Where do they come from? Geolocation. So your classical analytics is all here. Also, full visibility into your JavaScript errors or into your browser crashes, because we do the same thing for mobile native apps as well. So what are the topmost JavaScript errors? Whom are they impacting? Are they impacting your high-profile customers or just your casual browsing customers? All of this is possible. And last but not least, obviously, it's the end-to-end visibility. So the service flow is really, for me, the proof that we can't make this even simpler, right? I mean, this is a single agent that you install, and you automatically get full end-to-end visibility of calls that come in on your front-end line, which might be your mobile app or your web app, and how it goes to different proxies, to your individual components, how many transactions are running through the different services, and how they eventually all end up in the backend, which might be a database, which might be a microservice or an external service. Right? So this is all there. And while this data is great and you can use it for different use cases like diagnostics, where things slow, I think a big use case I just want to highlight as the last item is that Dynatrace looks at all the data for you and automatically detects in case there are any problems that are actually really impacting the bottom line, which is your SLAs and your end users. So what that means is we open up so-called problem tickets, as you can see here, right? I just opened up the problem ticket that Dynatrace detected. It's a problem that is impacting 4 applications. The problem was open for 55 minutes. Dynatrace analyzed 803 billion dependencies and measure points. And what it's crunching through right now, and it's done now, it actually tells me how many people were impacted, how many service calls were impacted, because this helps you to figure out how critical this problem is. It tells you which applications were impacted, if it was a global problem across all browsers, all geos, or if it was local. It tells you the root cause, the CPU saturation on this case, on this machine, that was also impacting check destination, which is the service that runs on it, full access to log files. And one of the coolest things for me, and this is the last thing I want to do today before I jump over to Q&A, is it's the problem evolution, right? If a problem starts, then Dynatrace is not just bombarding you with many events, with many alerts. It typically starts with an integration to your JetOps, whether it's Slack, or anything else, and it opens up a ticket, so it makes a notification over, and then it says, hey, there's something wrong, and we'll keep tracking it, and you can see that as the problem evolves, we fill up the problem with more information. And the idea is, if I pause here, then in this case, at 8:30 in the morning, when this problem was still ongoing, Dynatrace was monitoring for me 108 ongoing events in 20 different components. So remember, there's a couple of applications that were impacted, and these are all the different components that support these apps. It's a mixture of Apache, Java, Nginx, Node.js, running on Windows, running on Linux. There's different things involved here, but instead of getting alerts from different tools that cover different technologies or different parts of the stack, you get a single problem. And all of this data is also queryable through REST API. It means we see people using this data for automated remediation to solve the actual root cause. Where did the problem originate? Right? What was the initial thing? What was the initial deployment? What was the configuration change? What was the change in behavior of our end users that started all of this? Right? And I believe this is where we believe these are some advanced concepts, obviously, but I'm pretty sure most of you out there are getting into a stage where moving over to the cloud is not just lifting and shifting and running hardware on somebody else's, or running your applications on somebody else's hardware, but you really want to redefine on how you actually run and operate applications. And this is where you have to think about automation. And we did the hard work for you to make sure that every monitoring piece of data is available in a single tool, automatically correlated, and you have easy access to it for different use cases, right? And most importantly, access to it through the APIs. All right, so now I want to open it up for Q&A. So in case people have questions, go to the Q&A feature of the question feature in GoToWebinar and put in your questions. And while I give you a minute or so to put in your questions, just some reminders. There's more content out there, as you can see here. The different university, the YouTube playlist, the coffee breaks from my colleague Daniel, and the power demos are great. We also have obviously, if you have not yet used Dynatrace, just sign up for it. Most importantly, it is Christmas time, and after Christmas, we have our Perform conference in Las Vegas coming up end of January. So in case you have not signed up yet, there is a hot day, a hands-on training day. It's a Monday, I believe, and Thursday morning and afternoon, where we teach advanced concepts of modern cloud-native engineering. And then there's 2 days of conferences where we have customers talk about how they integrate Dynatrace and how they have revolutionized the way they operate. All right, so now I want up for Q&A. I want to bring back my video. Hopefully that doesn't scare people away. So if you have any question, go to the question feature in GoToWebinar and make sure to type in a question. I will read them out loud. All right. So let's just open up this view here. So first question is this can you integrate Dynatrace? Can you automatically deploy it with CloudFormation? Yes, I think I mentioned this before. So I have a just remind you again, the way you roll out Dynatrace in a fully automated way is you only need a little piece of information. So you sign up to Dynatrace, you go into your UI, you click on Deploy Dynatrace, and then you click on Start Installation. You pick your OS. So for instance, if you are deploying Linux machines on EC2, then you take this information, right? This is the download. The download is a wget on this URL, and then it's an installation script. And then you can fully automate that into a CloudFormation template. Now, I have a tutorial. Actually, I have 2 tutorials that I would like you to know about. So the one is, it's all on GitHub. The one is called AWS Monitoring Tutorial, and this is where I walk you through different scenarios and different labs on how to instrument EC2, LambStack. And this is the one, actually, the LambStack is where I show it how it's done through a CloudFormation template, right? So check this out. And basically what I'm doing, I'm just automating the download and the installation of the OneAgent as part of the user data script. Yeah, it's that easy. And obviously, you can do the same thing with, Chef, Puppet, Ansible. There are Chef, Puppet, PowerShell scripts out there that already show you how to do this with OneAgent. There's available scripts out there on GitHub as well for any of the other configuration management tools. Okay, but check this out. Another thing that I can highlight here is the AWS DevOps tutorial. I mentioned this also earlier. This is more like an end-to-end automation scenario where I built an end-to-end tutorial of baking Dynatrace into your end-to-end pipeline. Now here I'm using AWS Code Pipeline. We have the same available for Jenkins or for other CI/CD tools, but I think this gives you a nice overview of how you can monitor every single stage in your pipeline, how you can use Dynatrace to act as quality gates, how you can use Dynatrace to validate your production deployment, and how you can also do auto remediation. This is all part of it. The next question, the presentation is shared. Yeah, so the presentation, the recording will be uploaded to university.dynatrace.com, and Denise is also always uploading the presentations, the PowerPoint slides. So the slides will be on Dynatrace University next to the recording. On YouTube, you always just find the video recording. Next question is there support out of the box for PySpark application deployed on AWS EMR? I have to defer that question. I'm not an expert in everything. So if you want to do me a favor, the best point would be if you go to answers.dynatrace.com. This is our discussion forum where you can ask these questions, right? If you want to, so I don't know it right now, PySpark on AWS EMR, I don't know by heart what that really is with out-of-the-box support. I know we have out-of-the-box support for many technologies, but if you do me a favor and if you are a Dynatrace user, just put the question out here. And if you don't have access to a community because you're still in kind of the evaluation process of Dynatrace, feel free to just reach out to me, and then via email if you want to, or Twitter, and then I can also follow up with you if you want to do this, Cheyenne. Okay, let me know if this makes sense. The next question is around CloudWatch. So can I configure multiple AWS? Can I configure multiple AWS environments and can Dynatrace pull in the data? Yes, it is possible. So if I go back to my Dynatrace environment, right? Remember settings, cloud and virtualization, AWS, and then here you can connect to multiple instances. So if you have multiple instances, or even if you have the same instance, but you want to monitor different things, because what you can actually do here is you can say, so based on the authentication, based on the roles that you use here, you can configure what Dynatrace, what type of data we can actually capture. And then what's also really cool, you can also say, Dynatrace, should you want to monitor all the resources or just certain resources based on tags? And you can therefore also you're very flexible and you can configure multiple integrations. Just make sure that you also read the documentation here and be aware, right, when we pull in metrics through CloudWatch, CloudWatch is not a completely free service. Eventually, you probably have to pay for it. The costs are very small, but still, just to be aware of that. The next question is, in Dynatrace managed environment using port 8443 for OneAgent communication, but the download component wget is using port 443. It is conflicting, so we have to open both 443 and 8443 in the firewall. So if you have set up your Dynatrace managed active gate, right? It's the active gate that the OneAgent communicates to. If you have changed that port from 443 to 8443, then you would obviously then use 8443 for communication. Maybe the UI doesn't show you that correctly. It could be that the UI is not fully aware of that port change. So Charles, I think if, as you said, this might be confusing. If you change the port, then obviously use the port that you're using. By default, it is HTTPS, which is 443. Right? And I think there's also some documentation here on Dynatrace managed architecture, if I'm not mistaken. Dynatrace managed. I think you should find information here on the deployment scenarios and also how all the clusters work. And I would assume there's something on here that also talks about the ports. Here we go, actually. Exactly. And I guess I was wrong earlier, right? It says 8443. This is the default port, and you can. I would definitely, Charles. I just post in case you don't find it. You may want to. I just posted the link in the chat window here as a reply to your message. So the OneAgent by default actually talks to 8443 in the Dynatrace managed installation. Okay. And you can change this obviously because you are the master of your own Dynatrace managed installation. So you should be able to change this. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if this answer is also. Also, there's another question: the management zones. Jay, I know you asked about the management zones earlier, and I addressed it briefly during my demo. Let me know if the question is sufficient or the answer that I gave you is sufficient. Other than that, I would say, right, Dynatrace management zones. I always am a fan of just looking at our own help here, right, setting up management zones. There's a doc page here that explains it in very much detail on how you can reuse the text and use the text for that. So check it out. Also, it explains what's different between a SaaS deployment and a managed deployment. So you can check it out here if you want to have more. Let me just send you that link as well. So setting up management zones. Just copy that, and I'll paste it in here as well so you have it. All right, we are almost at the top of the hour, and it seems. Let's see if I have any questions. You all were quiet today, but I guess it's just before the Christmas holidays. Maybe everybody has other things to do. What are the ports we need to open between Dynatrace managed and the security gateway, and in which direction? I think it's the same answer that I would give you. Right? It's basically where's the Dynatrace managed architecture. Right. So I think you were asking about whether the ports need to be open between Dynatrace managed and the security gateway. So you can see here the security gateway is talking to the Dynatrace backend cluster on 8443, and it's the direction. The communication always goes like from the agent to the gate, from the gate to the cluster. There's no thing where you have to bi-direction. It's always open from one side. The agent opens up the communication to the active gate. The active gate opens up the communication to the cluster. Right? So I think let me also share that link with you, Harshit. You said the firewall port needs to be bi-directional. Where the connection is open, if two parties are talking with each other, one party is opening up the port, and once that connection is established, obviously things can go bi-directional, but the connection is established from the active gate to the cluster. There's no need to open up you obviously need to allow the active gate to make it open up the port to the cluster on 8443, and you need to allow the cluster to accept connections from external on that port. But I think that makes sense. Okay, it makes sense. Somebody says, I don't have access to the Dynatrace University. How do we get the video recording? The video recording, and I know it was a fire drill. Oh, you had a fire drill. I'm sorry. You had a fire. I thought you said I was like rapid fire. Hopefully the fire drill was just a demo fire drill and nothing happened on your end. So yes, the YouTube videos, so all the recordings go up on the YouTube channel. So here's the YouTube channel. It's a playlist. That was a demo fire drill. That's cute. The YouTube channel includes all the videos, and I'm just posting it in here as well for you. But it's the Dynatrace YouTube channel, and there's a playlist on it that is called Dynatrace OneAgent Performance Clinics. Cool. Well, I'm very happy there was a demo fire drill. Nothing bad happened. All right. We are at the top of the hour. If you have any additional questions, well, you know my name, and I'm sure there's an easy way to figure out what my email is, because everybody in Dynatrace is the first name dot last name at dynatrace.com. Right? Let me just go quickly back to my initial deck. But most importantly, I think, is that you should start evaluating Dynatrace. Right? You can sign up. In the product, you also have a chat feature. So if you've ever noticed, in the product, there's a chat option, and you can actually chat with somebody, and you can use answers.dynatrace.com for your questions as well. That's a community forum where experts are answering questions as well. Having that said, I want to wish everyone that is celebrating the upcoming holidays. I want to wish you a happy holiday. Great new start in 2019. We will continue the Performance Clinic series in January. I already have a couple of them lined up, so make sure you're signing up for them. Always thanks to Denise. She's recording, cutting it, and then pushing it up on University, and also helps me to push it up on YouTube. And thanks for the audience. And if you have any wishes in terms of topics you want me to cover in the future, also just let me know. With that, see you and bye-bye.